Okay, this is not a video where I'm going to show you how to solder these things, just because my head would block all camera shots because I have to get my head so close to the what I'm doing because these things are so small. But it's just kind of an overview. So we have this little adapter board that we made, and you can see on the adapter board, although the MBC30 doesn't really apply, but like if you were to use this adapter board, and then you would have to run jumper wires from pin 6 or 7 of the MBC1, or if it's at number 3, 30 and 18, 5, 20 and 21. But A19 is already connected, so you would just bridge, let's see here, you would just bridge, this right here to have A19 connect to this point here. It's really the only some of the NBC ones that have this pin as ground. And then you can see here, this is A20, A21, and then A19. So if you're putting this in an MBC1 and pin 1, which is A19, if it's grounded, you can check that with the multimeter, then you would not bridge this, and then you would just run a jumper wire from here to pin 6. But for 3, 5, and 30, it's going to be connected, so you'll bridge this anyways. So really, probably I should just have deleted that row because it doesn't really apply, because there's no variations in the Game Boy colors. Anyways, R21. So this would be a resistor here, like a 10K resistor. And this is only if you put like a 4 megabyte ROM onto this adapter and mount it to one of the carts. But this is just to keep the 4 megabyte address line, A21, from floating. But if you have a 2 megabyte ROM, on here, then you don't need to worry about that. And then this is the write enable. This should be like a 10K also. And then this is required no matter what. And so, all right. So again, this is not going to be a soldering video. Now it does take a certain amount of skill to mount these things on. The ROM is here. Let's see. Say this is an AM29F016B. Can't believe my phone's doing so well. So that's a 2 megabyte ROM. And like the MBC 30s, games with Pokemon, the maximum size is 2 megabytes. And so, if you put a 4 megabyte ROM on the adapter, then, you're wasting memory, number one, but, and you would need that resistor to keep that address line. And so, with this right here, this adapter would mount, here. I've already taken the ROM off. Again, this isn't a how-to, it's more of a conceptual video, so it would go there, and then, so like here, for example, I have it on and mounted. And then, because a 32 pin mask ROM, its maximum size is 1 megabyte. No matter what it is, max is 1 megabyte. And you have a 2 megabyte ROM, so you're going to need to run a jumper wire from the little A20 spot to the MBC3, let's see, what is that, pin 18? I can't remember. But right there. So that connects the 2 megabyte address line, A20, to the adapter. So now, and then you can see where I've bridged the A19 one. Because, A19 is connected to the map chip. So now down here, is the write enable line, and this line goes from that little pad there to this here. Okay, and then if you do this, make sure you put like a piece of tape, real close, something like that, so when you apply solder, it doesn't wick down, the pad. You want to keep that solder from moving down the gold pads. So anyways, so what that line does is it allows you to use it in our programmer. But if you program the ROM, on your own, then that wire is not needed at all. And I'll show you the programmer in a minute. So I just wanted to go over that. And then, so the other style of mask ROM is this 44 pin one. Now the adapter is not intended for this one. It's too small, too many pins. It's not it. And so, but if you get one of these MBC5 carts with a 32 pin mask ROM, something that looks like this, then you would use those 2 extra address lines. You would have to run little jumper wires to, on an MBC5, it would be pin 21 and 22. And so, anyways, but that's, if you had this style of mask ROM. So anyways, so this is just a cart that I received not too long ago. It's not Pokemon, it's some other game. But all the Pokemons use 256 SRAMs and 2 megabyte ROMs. And so anyway, so this particular cartridge is a good host. But again, this adapter is designed to go in place of any 32 pin mask ROM. And so it's very tight quarters in there, but it does fit. Okay, so we've kind of covered these. I'm going to move these out of the way. And so right here, you can see the little black wire that I've connected. And so I'm going to take this and put it in my programmer. So we've already talked about this. I'm going to move this aside. Okay, so got it in the programmer, and I've made a Super Game Boy with a USB port into my programmer. Oops, hold on, dropped it. Okay, so, all right, so with that little wire there, the programmer will see it, and then you just get a little USB drive notification up here, and then so you get it's empty. You can do a right click and do properties to see, oh, this one's 4 megabytes, sorry, but but the max that the cartridge can use is 2 megabytes. So I'm just going to drag and drop, and it doesn't take very long. I like how this version of the programmer actually retains the game name. Previous versions of the programmer weren't able to do that, but this one reads the header information off the ROM, and so it can tell you the name. Okay, so now it's done. Come on. All right, so I'm going to take this out. So, okay, so that's that. So the other thing is if you don't want to have this little wire, or maybe maybe you don't have the wire, or your skills aren't good enough to put that on. I mean, if you can mount this ROM and those little parts, then your skills should be good enough for this little wire. But if not, then you can do something like this, where you've got just a wire tacked to that spot, like I have here. And so this is going to be kind of tricky to do with one hand. So the programmer has a little deal on it to where as soon as the cartridge pushes in, then power turns on. And so on some of the programmers, I've put a like a bolt. Let's see, like right here is a bolt. So if I hold this, wire, just with my fingers, on this bolt. Sorry, I'm going to go off video for a second to get this wrangled. Okay. So I'm holding the wire just on that bolt. I got the cartridge inserted, the USB's up. Then you can program it just by holding this wire on this bolt. That's the right enable line, and so I'm not going to. Programming is just like it was, a second ago. Where anyway, so I'm not going to show that again. But essentially, some of these some of these have a little bolt on them where you can just touch, and then after it's programmed, you can just remove the wire, or well, you can remove it, or I suppose you could tuck it inside, and that way you can use it, some other time. So now there's a couple things. Now we do make this board, and I showcased this in a previous video, where it has all the capabilities of the MBC 1, 3, and 5 map chips. And so, like, for example, here is one that does not have the map chip, but it's got everything else. It's got a 2 megabyte ROM, and all the different support circuitry for 256K SRAM. So anyway, so and then here's one with the map chip. So again, it programs just like the others. You know, obviously you don't need to, you know, put a little wire on them. And then lastly, well, a couple more things on this video. So this white shell is a reproduction shell. And if you notice, the hole in the middle is smaller than an original shell. So there's a little wiggle room for this cartridge to move around. This is an original cartridge, of course. And so now on a real or a genuine reproduction shell, you know, you can see that there's no wiggle room. And so so the ones that we make, the boards that we make, will go in this shell, and there's still a little bit of a gap, but it doesn't move around as much as the original one. So this one just kind of hugs the walls, and so you know, you don't have to worry about taping it in. You know, it's in snug enough. That little bit of wiggle room isn't enough to cause any issues. But you know, this much wiggle room, you know, could cause some issues. So anyways, using an original. So anyways, so we made ours so that it should snug into, you know, an original, you know, or the reproduction ones, you know, without too much wiggle room. So anyways, all right. And so that's kind of the size and fit. Lastly is Pokemon Crystal reproductions. So this is where they use the MBC30. And these are not my boards. I got this one off OSHA Park, and I got the white one from PCBWay. And they have, you know, the silk design on the bottom, similar to an original. You know, an original one has these little notches on the sides, and then it's got the little silk design on the back. So anyways, so that's an original. Unfortunately, the MBC30 is you have to get it from an original because there are no other cartridges that share that map chip. But anyways, so I just on a whim, I thought, you know, I'll get a couple of these, try them out, see if I like them. And obviously, it's got a battery holder. It's got the MBC30 chip. Let's see if I can zoom in on that. Yep, 3.0. So the difference between the 30 and the 3 is the 30 can accommodate up to a 4 megabyte ROM, whereas the MBC3 can only do up to a 2 megabyte ROM. So all these ones I built, I put a 4 megabyte ROM. I really have no idea if there are any hacks that exceed the 2 megabyte size, but you know, just in case there are, you know, so I got these. So this one's, you know, so this one's all put together, whereas I've got some of these others that are put together minus the chip. So, and these also have the FRAM 256. And so your battery life, since it doesn't have to support SRAM, your battery life should be very long, especially with this, you know, 2025. And, you know, so the MBC30 will only just be maintaining the RTC clock, and and not the SRAM on these. So anyways, but so that's these, and I don't know, I might just sell these, you know, where all you got to do is, you know, provide your own chip. You know, this is I guess this is just an easy way to make an English version of this game, even though an MBC3, you know, can run the game just fine. But you know, if you want this shell with the two notches, you know, then you got to go with one of these. So, all right, well that about covers it. So this video is just highlighting, let's see, this adapter here, and this, you know, board here. So, and then we might put some of our extras of this, not including the chip, up. I mean, you can buy the Japanese ones for about $20. So if you really want to spend $20 plus, you know, the cost of these things, then, you know, more power to you. Anyway, so these little guys here will probably be, you know, a couple of dollars on MordoffGames.com, and this one will probably be like $3 or $4 on Mordoff, probably $4 on Mordoff, and it'll come with a complete parts list of you know, all the parts needed to, you know, to build, you know, to build one of these. So this is all pretty much, you know, standard resistors, transistors, caps, you know, SRAM, you know, and then unfortunately, you know, these you know, hard to get, you know, 29F16s. So, but we're actually going to have a stock of these chips here pretty soon, because I found a place to buy some. So, anyways, and then of course this one also has, not that one, this one. So this one has the crystal right there. So it's just all surface mount. You know, so right there in the middle of the screen is the crystal, and then you got the caps that regulate it, and so anyways, I love surface mount. Stuff's great. All these surface mount stuff's 0603 package, and again, you'll get like a Mauser link or parts list where you can buy your own or use your own. And then the programmers, we have a limited number of GameBoys, shells, as I mentioned from a previous video. You know, we have a customer did a bunch of conversions, and so we were left over with a bunch of shells and connectors, and so I thought, well, this certainly seems like a pretty good case, you know, to use. So then we also did one more kind of bonus thing, and not every one will have this, but just saying it's possible. You know, this will also be able to support a game. So game's not necessary, of course, to program. But, you know, figured, you know, why not? So, and that is it.